What avoidants think during no contact, week by week. When you go no contact with an avoidant, most people imagine a dramatic movie scene. The avoidant panicking, realizing your worth, and chasing you down the street in slow motion. But the truth is far more complex and far more psychological. Avoidants don't process separation the same way secure or anxious people do. Their timeline is different. Their emotional reactions come in delayed waves, and what they think about you during no contact changes drastically from week to week. In this video, we're going to dive deep into that internal world, into the mind of the avoidant, as we break down exactly what's happening from week 1 all the way to week 8. By the end, you'll understand not just what they feel, but why they feel it, and why the silence affects them far more than you may think. Week 1, relief mixed with confusion. The first week of no contact is often shocking for anxious or secure people because they expect the avoidant to react instantly. But avoidants don't respond with panic, not at first. During week 1, an avoidant typically feels a strange mixture of relief and emotional neutrality. When you go silent, the avoidant's nervous system interprets that as pressure removed. The intensity drops. The emotional demands evaporate. They feel like they can finally breathe. But here's the part people don't see. Right under that temporary relief is confusion. Avoidants are used to being the ones who withdraw. So when you pull away first, it creates a psychological imbalance. They won't show it, but they notice. They'll come up with logical explanations. Maybe they're busy, maybe they're fine, all to avoid acknowledging the real thought. Why did they suddenly stop? Week 2, the story they tell themselves. By the second week, avoidants begin building internal narratives to protect themselves from vulnerability. They might convince themselves that you're just giving space, or maybe you're doing your own thing, or maybe you finally accepted the distance. This is the avoidance self-soothing strategy. They don't ask, they don't check, they don't reach out, they go inward. But here's what makes week 2 interesting. Your silence starts becoming noticeable. In their mind, they start replaying the last conversations, the last moments, the last tension points. They won't admit they miss you, but something feels off, and that off grows stronger with every silent day. Week 3, the start of discomfort. Week 3 is when the avoidant begins to feel the first emotional sting. The initial relief fades and a subtle discomfort begins to rise. An avoidant's fear isn't losing you. Their fear is intimacy. But when you disappear, the fear changes shape. Now it becomes fear of what your silence means. They wonder if you're upset, done, disconnected, or moving on. They won't reach out, but they think about it more than they admit. They check your social media from a distance. They replay conversations they once dismissed. And for the first time, they feel something they avoid at all costs: emotional uncertainty. Week 4, did they really let go? By week 4, the avoidant starts experiencing something very unfamiliar: doubt. Their emotional walls no longer feel like protection, they feel like confinement. The silence becomes louder. They begin asking themselves questions they've avoided for years. Did I push too far? Did I overdo the distance? Did they actually move on? This is the first week where an avoidant feels the early signs of regret. Not regret for losing you, but regret for how things ended. Avoidants always believe people will stay no matter how distant they become. But now they can't feel your presence, and for an avoidant, that becomes unsettling. Something in them whispers, maybe they won't come back. Week 5, the slow return of emotional memory. Week 5 is fascinating because avoidants start remembering the connection differently. Earlier weeks are dominated by logical distancing, but now, emotional memory kicks in. They remember the good moments, the safe moments, the warmth, the conversations that made them feel understood. Avoidants often suppress good memories during conflict to justify their withdrawal. But now that there's no conflict, their mind begins to reopen the emotional archive. Week 5 is when you pop back into their mind at random times: morning, night, during their day. This is when they think, it wasn't all bad. Week 6, the what-if phase. By week 6, avoidants begin to feel something rare: curiosity about what it would be like to reconnect. Not commitment, not vulnerability, just curiosity. They wonder, What if I reached out? What would they say? Would they be cold, warm, distant? Avoidants live in what-ifs because it allows them to imagine emotional closeness without risking real closeness. They might stalk your stories quietly. They might hover over your contact. They might type a message and delete it. Week 6 is the beginning of psychological pulling, where the avoidant feels drawn toward you again, even if they don't act. Week 7, fear of loss finally hits. Avoidants don't feel fear of losing someone during the breakup moment. They feel it when they finally sense that the other person's energy is truly gone. Week 7 is that moment. Something in them breaks the illusion that you're waiting. Your silence no longer feels like space, it feels like absence. The avoidant starts wondering if someone else is in the picture. They wonder if you're happier without them. They wonder if they'll ever get another chance. They still won't reach out impulsively, but now the fear is real. And this fear is the same fear they've been avoiding their entire life. The fear of caring too much. Week 8, contemplation or contact. By week 8, everything depends on the avoidance level of emotional maturity. Some avoidants will stay in their shell forever, repeating the same cycle with every relationship. But the avoidants who have even a little self-awareness will reach a crossroads. They either quietly check in by sending a small, low-stakes message, or stay silent but think about you more intensely than they ever let you know. Week 8 is when the avoidant contemplates reconnecting. They imagine your reaction. They imagine your tone. They imagine the possibility of starting again, slowly, safely, without pressure. But here's the truth. By week 8, they finally feel the impact of no contact. Not in week 1, not in week 2, not instantly, but now. Because avoidants feel emotions on delay. They miss on delay. They regret on delay. They return on delay. The deeper truth is, if you've ever loved an avoidant, you've felt the frustration of wanting closeness while they want distance. But here's what most people never understand. Avoidants don't want a relationship without love. They want a relationship without fear. Fear of being trapped. Fear of depending on someone. Fear of needing someone. No contact doesn't magically fix an avoidant. What it does is force them to face the one thing they spend their whole life avoiding, their own feelings. And when they finally sit alone with their silence, they realize something profound. You weren't the problem. Their defenses were. Final message is, if you're in no contact right now, remember this. Avoidants don't break down in week 1. They break down when their walls stop protecting them and start isolating them. They think about you far more than they show. They feel more than they admit. And the deeper the connection was, the longer the delayed emotional response hits. Your silence isn't punishment, it's clarity. It shows you what happens when you remove pressure, remove chasing, remove rescuing. In that quiet space, an avoidant finally meets themselves. And for the first time, they realize what losing you would truly mean.